Yes, so I'm back. So my friend asked me to do another one of these. And his whole thing is America is fundamentally the greatest country in the world because it has freedoms. We're so free. So let me give you a reality. The American fundamental freedoms: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of petition, as well as the right to keep and bear arms. Let's see, unreasonable search and seizure, and the right to due process, fair trial, yada yada yada. His whole thing, the whole reason he wanted me to do this is because he asked me, "What do I think is the most dangerous of these freedoms?" His parents say it's the right to bear arms. He says it's the right to assembly because of all these stupid protests and everybody destroying shit. I tell him it's the freedom of speech. Now, I could understand that 50 billion people right now, oh my God, freedom of speech. Oh, no, no, freedom of speech, you just don't seem to understand what that in details. So, even though you have the freedom to sit there and you can tell anybody whatever you want to tell them, be heard, and you might be able to bear some great understanding of a truth that you know, but you have to understand the reality of truth and the reality that with truth can come lie. So when you sit there and you try to tell somebody that the worst freedom that they could possibly have is the right to bear arms, well, not really. The only thing about that that's bad is some moron that has a gun that can't control their feelings and decides to kill somebody. You also have the same emotional prowess when it comes to people who assemble who can't control their feelings and decide, oh, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to destroy anything and everything inside because I feel so wholeheartedly about something. It's just, you just have no control of your emotions. But when it comes to the freedom of speech, having the freedom of speech allows you one of two truths. You have the complete and utter freedom, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And I don't believe in God, so if you believe that Santa Claus is still coming, you can believe in whatever you want. I'm a true atheist. I've studied a few different religions. Can't make sense of any. But in that, if you also have the freedom to lie, you have the freedom to tell anybody anything at any time, and it's just allowed. And until somebody calls you on your bullshit, you're utterly and completely just going to blatantly lie to people. I could sit there and go before a country, before a people, convince them 100% that the sky is green, that the sky is green, until one day somebody that's colorblind says the sky is green, and then a bunch of other people that are colorblind say the sky is green, and then all of a sudden, who's the colorblind people? Is it us? Is it them? Yada, yada, yada. And therefore, you get this gigantic argument, and all of a sudden, you know, say la vie. The sky was never blue, it's green. Everybody believes it. Santa Claus is coming to town. With the great understanding of being able to tell the truth, it's not just your truth, it's telling factual truth. It's like telling number truth. If you tell number truth is only true if an equation is equal on both sides. If this side of the equation equals that side of the equation, it's a true equation, which means that if 2 plus 2 equals 4, then when you reverse it, 4 equals 2 plus 2, it's just the same thing. So when you're sitting there trying to tell somebody the truth and you're trying to relate truth and you're trying to give them truth, you can't use what this entire system is now based off of or has been based off of for quite some time, the whole reality of multiple choice. So if I was to sit there and give you a multiple choice question just off the top of my head, it'd be something like, who in the 1800s cross from one side of America to the other, being guided by some pregnant Indian native woman, yada yada yada. And your multiple choices are Gilbert Godfrey or Donald Trump or Lois and Clark with Sacagawea or the Pillsbury Doughboy. There's so much of a basis of truth in reality kept from that it doesn't matter. Like you just Lewis and Clark, yay, you got an A. But I mean, how easy is it to pass? It's no wonder why we're like 50th in literacy and 30th in math and all the different things that are actually true. It's probably changed in a few years. We might be a little bit higher now. But if you also take the reality and the dominion of a place which just lies to you. So if I was going to tell you today, like, no matter what you spend, you will be wealthy in 10 years. It doesn't matter if you have income. You're just going to become wealthy. That's a falsehood. If I tell you, oh, there's no racism, no racism whatsoever. America is the freest country. You don't have to deal with scrutiny and this, that, and the other. It's another falsehood. We could be telling any third world country this and just having their people become citizens and expect this great reality, but it's not true. Some guy eventually down the line is going to call them a racial slur or something, have a bad day, call them a bad day. So, in fact, to believe in some sense of reality that conceptually that any one of these other freedoms is much, much more worse than the actual freedom of speech, I would say you're pretty delusional. The whole thing of just selling people on different ideologies has been based off of either actual facts or lies. And if you look at the amount of ideologies that have failed and have been found untrue again and again and again and again, it just proves that people specifically attack like they did with this country in the whole ideologies of Christianity and religions and whatever else. They go after young people. They sat there and created a genocide against these Native Americans, people that were already here, Mexicans, whatever you want to call them. And they killed off all these people that actually would have been old enough to have a real free thought and mind and understanding, and even though they had their own ideology of spirits and whatever else. But the reality is they fed them this religious bullshit, if you want. And they just kept feeding it to them, telling them that God and hope and everything's going to be there and they can be ultimately saved no matter what happens. And yet here we are today to where the once abundant reservations have been dwindled down to nothing using eminent domain or using the inability to pay tax or, whatever it is. In the end, what you've had over hundreds of years is people lying to you. And so within being lied to, it's happened in structures of government. It's happened in states. It's happened in contracts. I mean, it's like believing right now that if you sign a contract, that the definition of indentured doesn't precipitate to a contract, and or just one teeny tiny definition that changes that says totally different. Just like if you look at what we do for industry, which most of us work any multitude of forms of service industry, whether it's tax representatives, whether it's driving assistants, whether it's working some sort of market or anything, and having a greater 1 millionth% idea of how the functionality of that market works, whether it's electronics or supermarkets, whatever. You've been lied to so many times that you don't even realize that you're still in an indentured service. And you believe because of one definition that indentured servitude has to do with slavery. Although that was a part of indentured service. In indentured servitude at one point in time, You believe that it's no longer in existence. This is just contracted informalities of two people trying to come to an agreement. So understand the really true aspect of this. In all senses of reality, the most dangerous thing that could ever be held you or your children is the ability to be lied to. Because you could be lied to today. You could be told right now that Russia and China and Mexico and all these places are these overly endangered places, much greater than the United States, where children light fires and kill firemen and mow down their homes and whatever the case is. They drop bombs on each other, whatever. Like the reality is, if you're able to be lied to, it's not just a danger to you, it's a danger to everybody around you. And you could sit there and be fed into some BS and led that way your entire life until enough people become intelligent enough, aware enough, or they're indoctrinated enough and or taught to see differently and know differently. Like the fact that even though the war against Nazi Germany was fought, we did not annihilate the Nazi Germans. We left Nazi Germans all over the world. And now, unfortunately, the Eastern world, Asia, has a high volume of neo Nazi movements all over the place. Every time anything happens in the East, there's usually some swastika or something else all over it. And the United States also sees that problem. So don't allow yourself to be structured by some itty bitty tiny definition of reality. Like I had a friend the other day, he's Afro American, black, whatever. He says for his own perception, he thinks black is the most demeaning thing he could be called. And this is his presence about it. I don't like being black. I don't like the name black because if you add cargo to it, the only thing that's ever happened is I went from being black cargo, the N word, Negro, colored, to black. So I went full circle, and the only thing they left off was cargo. So the reality is now that people are trying to use black to become a national identity and a way to be seen and everything else in between, it's kind of a redundancy, especially by the way he put it, which I totally agree with him. I think it's kind of crappy. Just like I don't think people should be called white. Just like I don't think the country should be going, we're great, we're the greatest American, we're America, the great. You know, Canada was owned by the French and the Europeans until the last couple hundred years, maybe 100 years, and now they're Canada. You know, Mexico is America, but we don't want Mexicans in the U.S. Like it's the United States. Truth is the truth. Lies are lies. Don't get yourself butchered by it.